Okay, I think we're live. Are we live? I don't know. Let's just hope we're live. Welcome everybody. Welcome to Couch
What
Pundits
is
Sports
what,
F1.
what is up,
What
people?
is happening?
So
कैसा
it's
है
been a
तू?
week.
Hi Jamie. Welcome
Hi
back.
everyone.
Hi.
It's been a while. I have not been. Sorry about that. Last week, Sid, you did this with Dudeja and Govind.
Govind.
I saw that. It was quite fun. मजा आया देखने को. Or yeah, and this week we're doing Monaco post race. Monaco post race wrap. Monaco तो बिस्किट है जो
मतलब मैं तो मोनाको ही बोलता हूँ, पता नहीं है.
fair enough. तो कैसा रहा तुम लोग का वीक?
Pretty good. I mean, not such a great, race when it comes to overtakes, things like that. I'm pretty sure Siddhartha will agree with me. We saw one
Yeah.
of the biggest overtakes of the race, and they just cut to Lance Stroll out of nowhere.
Yeah. Was it an overcut or an undercut? That was an overcut. That was
Yes,
an overcut, right?
that was an overcut. Correct. It's an overcut in F1 for the viewers. It's when you pit earlier than your I think when you pit earlier than your opponents, you stay out. And no, sorry. Overcut is when you're on older tires.
Stay out
Let's
longer.
say your opponents
Stay out
ahead.
longer on the older.
Yeah, correct. When you stay out longer and you're on the older tires, your opponents pit, and they come out maybe slightly. They come out behind you, of course, but you stay out on your old tires. You make the most of those that in lap is what it's called when you're going into the pit. You absolutely step on it, make up a bunch of time, and then you basically come out ahead of them. When before the pit stops, you were behind them. So Vettel had a great over.
So this,
Perez.
So
yeah. We
I
will
mean,
discuss all
Vettel
that,
looked.
and
Yeah.
we will get to that, Sid. We will break this down. But today we're trying something different. We're going to go in sort of a format to see if that works. We're going to like follow some format for this stream as suggested by Jamie, and I think we all agree. So we're going to basically have a few segments during today's live stream, and we're going to be taking questions throughout, of course, from the chat. So welcome everyone in the chat. Please hit the like button so that more people get to know about this. And if you like what we're doing, please subscribe to the channel. Yes, so getting to it, this is going to be broadly what the segments for today's show are going to be. We're going to briefly discuss the history of Monaco,
Correct.
even Monaco. I mean, वो मस्त है पार्ले जी का. So,
Let's
but
pick the next thing.
having said that, we're going to discuss history of that. Jamie is going to take us through all the corners and all the turns and everything, and what over like अंडरस्टीयर ओवरस्टीयर कहाँ पे ज्यादा होता है कहाँ पे नहीं होता है all of that. We're going to focus on the track. We're going to talk about cars. We're going to talk about drivers. Then we're going to go into last week's race and just generally talk about F1 in general. So Jamie, take it off from the beginning with a brief history of Monaco that you wanted to share with us.
Yeah. So the first thing I wanted to share was the size of Monaco. So Monaco is around 500 acres of land, okay. So in short, like it's pretty much the second smallest country in the world. And to tell you all how small it is, I want you all to guess the size of Dharavi slum. So just take a guess of what Dharavi slum ka size is, and then
That's
guess.
small.
Yeah.
There are
So
30,000 people who live in Monaco, no? Who were
yeah,
citizens of
correct.
Monaco.
So
Something like that.
That's less than Lakshadweep.
dude, the size of
Hey, लक्षद्वीप में क्या हो रहा है और कितने लोग हैं किसी को नहीं पता. Okay, all of this don't fall for all this propaganda media, man. हाँ?
मैं वैसे न्यूज़ में देख रहा था. 65,000 मुझे उतना पता है. मेरे को सिर्फ पॉपुलेशन ही पता है अब तक वहाँ कितना है.
So
मतलब
in short,
एडमिनिस्ट्रेटर को शायद वो भी नहीं पता है, but हाँ, sorry, go on.
yeah, no, I was just saying it's a little ironic because Dharavi slum is literally bigger than the whole of Monaco, and it holds 1 million people compared to Monaco, which is 30,000 people. And in today's time, a third of the people actually living in Monaco are millionaires. So you can imagine the sort of crowd. And just to, tell you all, yeah, I mean, that's insane. But just to give a little bit of
Also a
history.
tax haven, but yeah,
Yeah, exactly. So
that's
just to
why
give a
all the
little,
billionaires live
history about the country, it's actually it was broke when it actually became a country, and in order to really give people something that other countries didn't, they did two very important things. So the first thing they did was they actually allowed gambling, and today we see the Casino de Monte Carlo, I think, in the race itself there'll be a casino. That is the first ever casino set up in Monaco, and I think it's one of the most looked upon casinos. And that casino was actually responsible for getting in so much revenue to the country that in about 1869 they stopped collecting taxes from everybody. So every citizen living there would no longer be taxed, and that is when so many people flock to the country, and that's what makes this country so special. It's you can't even see it on a map. And if you look at it, for instance, this the Monaco race is part of something known as the Triple Crown. So for those of y'all who don't know what the Triple Crown in motorsport is, it consists of winning the Monaco Formula One Grand Prix, winning the 24-hour Le Mans race, and winning the Indy 500. So the Indy 500, which is in
one
America,
guy who's
and
done it, no? Some Britisher who's done this.
Graham Hill.
I
Graham Hill has
forget his
been
name.
the only person in history to have ever actually accomplished that. So, when you look at America, when you look at France, where in the Indy 500 and the Le Mans races are, they're huge countries. And then you look at Monaco, which the track is maybe 1.5 kilometers long, and the whole country is 2.2 square kilometers long, square kilometers big. So
ये
it's
वही है मतलब basically this is some hangover that we have from the days gone by. Just like our country is suffering from a colonial hangover always, the racing world seems to be suffering from a hangover because, quite frankly, the Monaco race, in my opinion, it doesn't make any sense to continue racing there. Maybe, like other than nostalgia, there's no real tire management. The only thing that goes on in that race. Yes, there is.
I would agree with you.
You can barely overtake, and it's not a very interesting race.
I would agree with you to an extent. Very few overtakes, but people sometimes seem to forget that the race itself is a race against yourself. To be honest, the whole point, like one of the main
वही वो NFS underground पे भी है ना, you can race against yourself. There is a ghost that races and you can overtake it. And there is a very sad story of this one guy. I don't know, it's a meme that his brother or his father used to play that video game, and his father or his brother died, and that ghost is still racing on those tracks. So he always races and then stops before the finish line, so that the ghost can go and his memory can live on forever.
Speed Racer, the movie.
Yeah. Advait in the chat saying the race was super good because of how tight it is and all this. Okay, frankly, this race was shit. Other than Bottas, and we will come to that.
Yes.
Of
course, the Bottas segment.
I feel so bad for him. The team has blamed him.
Are you surprised, bro?
The team
has blamed him.
Yes. So the team has said Toto will
landscape mode.
Sorry. Okay.
Sid, can you move to landscape mode? Sid, you're in portrait. Perfect. Sorry, go on. Tell us about how Toto Wolff has now put this on Bottas, because
yes, I want to listen to this.
So वो बिरयानी नहीं लाया था ना हैमिल्टन के लिए?
Sorry.
So yeah, I
हैमिल्टन के लिए बिरयानी नहीं लाया होगा, इसलिए टोटो वुल्फ ने उसका व्हील नट तोड़ दिया.
He's basically told the press that Bottas didn't stop on the exact point at which he should have. So the wheel gunner had to remove the wheel at an angle. And because of that, it's practically Bottas' fault. That's what he said. That he had to do it at an angle. Because of that, the nut didn't fit.
I have not heard this, because everybody from Mercedes has gone out and said that when there is a failure, it is a collective failure. It is not one person's fault ever. Correct. And when we succeed together. When we fail together. That's what most teams would do, right? Like,
and I see articles already, like, there are rumors in the paddock that George Russell may practically move to Mercedes now. I'm like, this is like being in Bottas's place. This guy is like, I had a good race and these people are fuck, and they're like, automatically Bottas will move back to Williams. I'm like, अरे यार ये क्या हो रहा है किसी के साथ? मतलब imagine the kind of mental pressure this guy is in,
Yeah, I'm not.
Yeah, man. There's Abhinav in the chat who's saying there is some report that Russell has already signed a contract. Most probably signed a contract. ए यार ये rumor क्यों लेके आते हैं यार? Rumor तो आप वही तो discuss कर रहे हैं.
अभी विलियम्स वाले भी बोल रहे हैं कि मल्टी-ईयर कॉन्ट्रैक्ट देंगे रसल को. मतलब रसल चला रसल बाद में रेड बुल में चला गया. बाद में रसल रेड बुल में चला गया. पता नहीं ऐसे कुछ होना चाहिए.
Okay. Jamie, tell me this. Okay, tell me this. And Advait has said this in the chat. If he did not stop at the correct position, how did the other 3 tires come off?
That's a very interesting question.
वो लोग एंगल में नहीं डाला. हाँ, वो लोग एंगल में नहीं डाला.
I'll tell you. So the thing is that
and Toto Wolff, I read the quote about Toto Wolff where he said that the gunner, the wheel gunner, is one of the fittest and fastest pit stop people in our crew.
Correct.
So he's shifted the blame off of him and put it on to Bottas.
It's very interesting. So a pit stop lasts, 2.5, 3 seconds at tops. A 3-second pit stop is not a good pit stop. So when you stop at, let's say, a point that is, if your car wheels are supposed to stop here, but you stop here, the entire 20-man crew has to move from here to here. That itself, takes up like a half a second, and that's your pit stop gone wrong, literally. So maybe the others were able to adjust, but in the heat of the moment, when you're under so much pressure, he's probably done it at an angle. And what he's basically done is, for the viewers who might have not understood what has exactly happened to Bottas's race, he's come in for a pit, and the wheel gunner has a very powerful gun. They don't really show, on TV how powerful these things are. They're ridiculously powerful. The pressure you need and the arm strength you need to just hold them in place. So whilst taking off the wheel, let's say the part that anchors onto the nut has not clipped onto the teeth of the nut. It's somewhat clipped slightly off, and that is grinded over the teeth, which is basically smoothing them out. And you can't remove it anymore. That's his race over. He's gone from P2 leading second in the race to just DNF because apparently he stopped in the wrong position.
Why could not they continue with that tire? Let him finish the race.
I promise you, I was thinking that why don't they just put the other wheels back on, send him out, figure a solution, and then maybe bring him back in. That was what was in my head at the time.
He might have scored 1 point. Might have scored 1 point.
And
look how much mehnat they did just so that Lewis could get 1 point extra for that fastest lap.
Yeah, correct.
But they could not do any mehnat for Bottas. Sid, please give me your views on this. Like,
I think
send him out?
My theory is that this is the same guy जो हथौड़ा मारता है हर रेस के पहले. This is the same guy. This is the same wheel gunner.
The fastest pit stop guy.
Yeah, this is the same guy. And Bottas was like, oh, the minute Bottas is like, saw this gunner, he's like, fuck, मेरा race तो गया. And I think
बोल.
And मुझे ऐसा लगता है ना कि इसे बोटास के लिए मतलब पूरे टीम में एनर्जी रहता है ना. there's synergy around a person. बोटास को लगता है अरे चलो छोड़ देते हैं यार, मतलब क्या ही कर लेगा ये. वर्स्टैपेन को वैसे भी नहीं हरा पाता है. चलो ठीक है, उठ जाओ बोटास, चलो ठीक है, चलो हो गया रेस तुम्हारा, ऐसे टाइप का. मतलब मन ही नहीं है. वहां पे लुइस का रेस इंजीनियर को देखो, बोनो को एकदम पागल की तरह कुछ ना कुछ कर रहा है फास्टेस्ट लैप, लुइस पेप्सी चाहिए कि नहीं, लुइस थोड़ा ठंडा ले लो, ये वो. बोटास के लिए कुछ नहीं, उसका रेस इंजीनियर भी कुछ बोल नहीं रहा है उसको. ठीक है यार, अब चलता है, ये बोटास ही तो है.
Mercedes is one of the most professional teams out there, and somehow Sid makes them sound like a government office. And I love it. I absolutely love it. Abhinav in the chat asking, do you guys also watch F2? Yes.
Yes, of course.
F2, he watches F2. I don't. But last weekend I checked out one of the Saturday races I saw. The one where Darwala came 6th and all. We will discuss this. We will discuss F2. Yeah, let's just do it since the topic is here. F2. You guys catch F2 last weekend?
Yeah,
Yep.
it was great. It was great. F2 race was great. I mean, we saw one of the leading talents get the podium. We got Theo getting the podium, and he's revered upon one of the upcoming talents in coming years.
Can you
And
explain the format of the weekend of F2, because it is fairly different from the F1 weekend format where there's free practice, qualifying, and race. Here it's like sprint races spread across a couple of
two
days.
sprint races, one feature race. क्वालिफाइंग एग्जैक्टली ये होता है कि थर्सडे को एक पहला क्वालिफाइंग होता है, ग्रुप वाइज क्वालिफाइंग होता है ना, एक ग्रुप 1 ग्रुप ए और ग्रुप बी क्वालिफाइंग होता है. तो देयर इज क्वालिफाइंग फॉर स्प्रिंट 1 एंड स्प्रिंट 2, देन देयर इज अ separate qualifying for the feature race also. So that's sprint 1, sprint 2, and then the feature race that happens on Saturday just after the qualifiers of the Formula 1. So
what is a sprint race, Jamie?
So in a sprint race, in short, the only difference between a sprint race and a feature race is that there is no mandatory pit stop. So like how in F1 we have one mandatory pit stop, in your sprint races that's not there. So even in F1, when this time they're going to try out something known as a sprint qualifying, which is a 100-kilometer race, you no longer have to make a mandatory pit stop. But we've seen in the past drivers really go all out, use up their tires, come into the pits, make a pit stop, and go back out again. That's, you can if you want to, but it's not mandatory, which makes the race interesting. And of course, in Monaco being Monaco, when a pit stop is not mandatory, your qualifying is absolutely everything. So this time, because the track is so short, it's the shortest F1 track there is. An F1 Grand Prix has to be a minimum of 300 kilometers long, but only for Monaco, they've reduced that length just for this race. I mean, this track is so unsafe. It's not supposed to be held, this time. I mean, imagine there's a crash in the tunnel. How are they gonna connect to air support? It's not gonna happen. And there is no runoff. There's absolutely zero runoff except for some parts like near before the hairpin or after the main straight. That's pretty much it. That's all the runoff you have. Otherwise, you're straight in the barrier. We've seen people go into the bay. I'm surprised we didn't see Mazepin do that this time, but yeah, good for him.
Yeah. I think we saw Dan.
People have fallen into the water?
Yeah, so two people actually. One guy called Alberto Ascari.
What?
Brilliant race driver.
Yeah,
long ago. He was driving a Ferrari, and I think he's the last Ferrari Italian driver to win a championship in a Ferrari in Formula 1. So he actually at that time there was no Armco, there was no metal barrier. It was just hay that was kept on the side of the road. So he obviously went off. And
there was
hay.
There was literal hay. There were hay
powered by horses at that
time. there were hay bells, there were people, and then the bay. That's how unsafe motorsport was at the time. And just to tell you how actually unsafe it is in today's time, back then when they actually created the track, 84 kilometers per hour was the average lap time. Today it's 150 kilometers per hour, and the cars are 2 times longer. When you get a longer car, it becomes much harder to turn. In fact, it's why Red Bull did much better than Mercedes this time, because their wheelbase, which is basically the wheels of the car, are closer to each other than the Mercedes. So, when they do that full lock turn at the hairpin, which again is the slowest turn in Formula 1, 50 kilometers per hour, they get a massive advantage. So that's why, in fact, Red Bull was so dominant this weekend.
And also Ferrari, like I wanted to ask, I want to talk about Ferrari a little. Like, question to Jamie is that Ferrari looked really good. Like they surprised everyone in the grid. So do you think that they'll be continuing with this pace, or it was a one track or a one-off thing? Both of the drivers look good.
Correct. So Ferraris have a brilliant advantage in low speed corners, and that's what Monaco practically is. And their strongest sector is sector 2, and that's 47% of your track right there. So for the viewers who don't know what sector 2 means, in a racetrack, you've got sector 1, sector 2, sector 3. The whole track is broken up into 3 parts. And Sector 2, which comprises of almost 50% of the track in Monaco, is where Ferrari were absolutely on top of their game, which is why they were just brilliant, throughout. And in fact, Lando had actually sent a message to Carlos after Barcelona saying, I think you can win this. Because, although it's a shock to viewers at times, the teams have a lot of data with themselves. And of course, they don't only analyze themselves, they analyze every single driver out there. So for them, it was actually predicted that, Ferrari would be a really good, strong team, but no one would have thought they'd be on pole.
Because Carlos was going really good timing in Sector 2. He was doing really good. Like even the qualifiers, Sainz was going really fast in Sector 2.
Definitely. He came so close to Max. I was surprised. Dude.
Yeah, 3 seconds. They practically had a 3-second gap.
Yep.
And while we're talking about Ferrari, Vineet in the chat saying Monaco curse continues for Charles Leclerc.
So sad for him.
Yeah, man, that is.
He's not ever completed the race.
That.
That's so sad,
bro. I read recently that Ferrari came out and said that we didn't check some of the things that we should have checked.
Correct.
Because in an impact like this, those checks are not mandatory. And I'm like, what? तुम लोग F1 team हो, तुम्हारा काम है गाड़ी देखना. You have to check the car. Your car has crashed. The wheel has come off. How are you like, oh, that part we don't need to check. नहीं कार टूट गया, लेकिन we won't check that. How the fuck? What is going on? Like, what do they mean when they say this was not mandatory? That is why we didn't check it.
So basically what happened was when Charles crashed, he damaged something known as a drive shaft on the left side of his car. A drive shaft is what basically pumps converts the power from the engine into rotational energy and turns the wheels, in short. So sorry about that. So they basically didn't check that part, and if they wanted to check that part, they would have to break a seal that was connected to the gearbox or something like that. And if they had to do that, they would have to replace the gearbox. If they replace the gearbox, they would have to get the penalty. So they tried to risk it by just not getting involved with that part. And unfortunately for them,
it was to avoid losing the pole position.
Correct.
That they chose not to check it also. They took that much of a risk. So it was, was it a calculated thing or was it a gamble?
I don't have, all the tech or all the knowledge that they would have, but I would say, it was a portion of it was calculated, but because of course they changed a bunch of things that they were permitted to, and they just couldn't touch the other parts, because if they did, they would risk getting a penalty. So they felt like they were safe. And the biggest problem came, it was when they basically did a test when the car was at a standstill, right? They couldn't do any runs after the car had crashed. So when it was at a standstill, the car...
Also, why is that? What are these rules? Gaadi toot gaya hai, but you can't run the car between qualifying and the race.
Yeah, you can't.
Why not?
It's against
the rules. What are these shitty ass rules?
Yeah. In fact,
what's practical, no.
वो रेड फ्लैग वाला रूल के ऊपर नहीं, रेड फ्लैग वाला जो रूल था कि ट्रैक टाइम डिलीट होना चाहिए, उसके जगह पे ये रूल पे काम करना चाहिए. व्हाट डबल पॉइंटेड आउट, यार एक बार चला के तो देखो, ड्राइव शाफ्ट गया, मतलब आदमी खाना बना है और ये मुंह है, हाथ जो है ड्राइव शाफ्ट है, ठीक है, तो वही चीज खराब है और तुम लोग बोल रहा है कि नहीं हम तो वो चेक नहीं करेंगे. अरे भाई बहुत बड़ा गैम्बल है फरारी का, मुझे ऐसा लगता है. आई डोंट नो, लाइक मैं इटालियंस के बारे में ज्यादा नहीं कमेंट करूंगा. I myself work in an Italian company, so I can't comment much on Italian. It's a very small company. It's an Italian company.
Sometimes it baffles me the impracticality of some of the rules in F1, and one day we should just sit down and break down some of these ridiculous rules that they have.
Exactly.
Because some of them make no sense. Like, why? You have the track. Okay, maybe in Monaco I understand, because वो लोग का रास्ता है तो रास्ता खोलना पड़ेगा, बाकी सब गाड़ियां जा सकती है. But imagine, you're driving in Monaco on a Saturday afternoon, Saturday evening, और बाजू में Charles Leclerc like नहीं खाली टेस्टिंग कर रहा हूँ, and you're like going from one yacht to another yacht, from one party to another party, and like Leclerc वो ऐसा सिग्नल पे रुका हुआ है,
बस गाड़ी बड़ी से थोड़ा देख रहे चल रहा है कि नहीं, पोल पोजीशन मिला है, अरे अच्छा
And then he's like, अरे यार गाड़ी नहीं चल रहा है. Imagine उसका गाड़ी नहीं चल रहा है. Like an F1 car is broken down in the middle of a street, and you're just like, oh, that's too bad, Charles.
Yeah,
Like,
that
they
too,
would have
that too,
found this out on Saturday evening itself.
So
It's ridiculous.
this is out of topic. Like चार्ल्स के पास सही में बहुत पैसा होगा ना, मतलब वो मोनाको से बिलोंग करता है, और उसका भाई भी रेसिंग करता है, उसका भाई भी रेसिंग करता है, ठीक है, आर्थर लेक्लेयर भी रेसिंग करता है. तो मुझे ये चीज एक
Advait from the chat has pointed out this amazing thing that Mazepin has finished a Monaco race and Charles has not, and I think that deserves a round of applause. Well done, Advait, for pointing that out. And please hit the like button, guys.
Like the minute he said, guys, the gearbox, I was like, fuck यार, क्या हो रहा है इसके साथ? Because Charles का अगला रेस में भी अच्छा रिकॉर्ड नहीं है. Baku also doesn't have a great record to go with, so it's ऐसा भी नहीं बोल सकते कि अगले रेस में अच्छा कर लेगा. अगला रेस भी काफी गंदा ही है.
Baku is always an entertaining race, right? Baku has always been one of those what do you say, like those big ticket events जो जहाँ पे कुछ ना कुछ होता रहता है. High adrenaline, overtake, मस्त. तो मजा तो आने वाला है next week. But more gossip coming in from the chat, and I don't know. I have no interest in this whatsoever. But since it has come in, Max is dating Danny Kvyat's ex.
Yes, Nelly PK. They are dating
a long time now.
Because
not only Kelly PK's ex-wife, but she had. I mean, not only Kvyat's ex-wife, but
child Penelope. Her name is. मैं कल बैठ के पूरा ये gossip के ऊपर बैठ के रिसर्च किया. ये क्या Danny Kvyat Max का क्या रिलेशन है?
They were old teammates, right?
Oh my God! So this is like a Murli Vijay Dinesh Karthik situation almost.
Hey, no. They broke up after that. They started. Murli Vijay Dinesh Karthik was because the divorce happened because of that. If I'm not wrong. Year after like सब कुछ होने के बाद.
You are not wrong. This is not like a John Terry situation. This is more like a evolved European way, not like a.
डैनी बरोबर ऐसा डिवोर्स हो गया, फिर she was like, चलो ठीक है, मैक्स अच्छा ड्राइवर है, चलो. मतलब पर्सनल, बट मैं एक बात बोलूंगा, दोनों में तुमने if you watch Kelly PK and Max Verstappen, they look more like siblings.
I swear
they look like twins. They look
I'm like, so similar.
Yeah, dude, like I'm like
quite scary.
For those who are asking where Lola is, sorry, chat. There's a lot of requests for chat, and Lola is right there, guys. She has fallen asleep. So yeah, there she is.
Nice.
Now, yeah, man.
So
she was very upset because I was not playing with her, so she slept with her toy.
सही है यार, मस्त sorted.
On that note, guys, hit a like for a puppy, man. Come on, like
guys,
I gave
like
you guys
करो,
puppy.
attend करो. इतना सब तुमको gossip दिया अभी Kelly PK के बारे में.
Yeah, definitely.
यही तो main चीज है.
Subscribe to this channel for more F1 related gossip, because we are going to be coming up with more theories about Bottas's wheel nut and you know other people and their nuts also. We never know. Let's focus on coming back to the race a little bit. We spoke about Bottas. We spoke about Leclerc's disaster. Kelly PK, I mean, she is not like, it's not like she's Lance Stroll's girlfriend. You know, I remember I told you Lance Stroll's girlfriend is the model for uski team ka clothes.
Alpha Tauri.
Okay. So that is some next level, हाँ.
Yeah.
Alpha Tauri का कपड़ा मॉडलिंग भी Lance Stroll की गर्लफ्रेंड ही करती है. So it's
Kelly PK भी मॉडल है शायद, but पता नहीं कौन से.
Speaking about women on the track, Serena Williams, she was interviewed for longer than Max.
Yeah. The only Williams
they
to have.
Her?
I don't know why was she interviewed, but I didn't get it because.
The worst part was they asked her, do you have any tips for Max for the next race? And she's like, what? No, I am not in any position to give him any tips. He's just won the race. तुम लोग क्या बकवास कर रहे हो?
Yeah.
Like,
But-
and it was pretty ironic that Aston Martin called her and the Williams team did not call her. Like, it was very weird. Like, I don't know why, but ironically, Williams should have called it. Dollyton Capital वाले को थोड़ा तो खर्चा करना चाहिए यार ऐसे. Iconic decision में कि Serena Williams को बुला लिए, Aston Martin ने बुला लिया.
Okay. So, okay, let's come back. Let's come back to the race and let's talk
Correct.
about some of the good things. Let's talk about Lando Norris.
Oh,
Yes,
definitely.
Okay, and then we will focus on Danny Ricciardo. But Lando Norris, what a race for this guy, man. There was that phase at the end where Perez was coming close and Perez was getting into that DRS range. But it was just never going to happen because overtaking is so bad. But still, like Norris had to like hold his nerve through those last few phases of the
but he's
race.
known for holding positions really well. Like, you know, he defends his position really well, and you know, he's known for putting the car in a certain in a particular position so that overtaking is a little difficult. Because I remember this before this. I think this was in Portugal, where Hamilton took some time to overtake him because Lando was kind of blocking him.
Correct. Imola.
Imola. It took him at least 7 to 8 laps for him to overtake Lando. So he's known for defending pretty well. You know?
Yeah, I mean, he's a brilliant driver. You know, I'm telling you, his aim right now is just to show that he's a leader, and he's established that really well. And to his to his fortune, his teammates in the past who have been, now he's only had 2 teammates since he's been here, which is basically Carlos and Ricardo. They've both actually said the car feels very weird compared to other cars that they've driven. You know, Sainz has been to, I think, 3 teams before McLaren. Ricardo has been to 3 teams before McLaren. Yes, 4 teams actually. So, you know, they definitely noticed something that feels a little different for them compared to the other cars they've driven. And of course, that's playing a massive, giving them Lando a massive advantage because he lapped his teammate and he's on the podium. I don't think he could have got a better race than that.
And I think Lando is
his teammate on YouTube. I get all of these F1 video recommendations, and they have the most amazing titles. And this one was Daniel Ricciardo's saddest radio in the world. Blue flags for Lando Norris. And I was like, oh my god!
And Danny Rick is one of the most professional guys. Like in terms of
I heard
radio
that radio.
also.
Of course, I clicked on it because the title was so wonderful. And I heard that radio and they're like explaining strategy to him. And then they're like, okay, you're going to get blue flags for Lando. He's in P3, so we don't want to hold him up. And like, yeah, sure, tell me when. I'll move. I'm like, no, not yet. Let him approach. And like, okay, then they talk about race strategy again. They're like, okay, now blue flags for Lando. Let him pass. And that's it. It was not the saddest radio in the world.
Trying to be trying to
survive. I got a video recommendation that says Lando waves to Daniel after he laps him. And I was like, I'll click on that video. No such thing happened. So if you
why would Lando do something like that? This is an asshole move, like waving his own teammate. But I think that I think what has happened here is that Lando. I think
wait. Okay. This is the thing. Okay, chat has just confirmed this. Norris waved Ricardo away when he lapped him. And Advait, that was Vineet, and Advait saying Lando explains that in his Twitch stream where he says that he waves at every driver that lets him pass. So apparently he did wave at Ricardo.
He did wave. So when you wave, it wasn't really a sign of anything but just saying thank you very much. So like when I had gone, for instance, I was part of an endurance race of some sort abroad, and when the guy ahead would just be nice enough to let you go by because you know he knows that maybe you're a faster car or he's being lapped, they just give you the slightest of space and you just get to go through. And just as a sign of like saying thank you, we just put our hand up or we just like, you know, do that. That's pretty much what was going on there.
Oh, like when on the highway you flicker your lights till the guy moves and then you can overtake.
But it's still like
that kind of a situation.
Like
Pretty
Danny Rick being his teammate, thoda to aise, he must have, because Daniel literally wrote in on his helmet that I own these streets, and
Yeah.
I own the street.
Yeah, he
and
was
the
not
way
a-
the race panned out, because I'm a very big Danny Rick fan, and it has been a very bad week for me. Like the way,
yeah.
It has
He
been
I
bad.
couldn't believe he did so, like, I don't know what, like, everything went wrong for him. He's got points every time he's come here, you know. So I don't know what happened. Poor guy is just like had a very bad race, you know. I
slow
think
corners, because again he had issues with slow corners and the braking of the car, and he was telling he's not getting enough traction.
Yeah.
That is what he was complaining about.
Yeah, Lando was literally lapping a second faster than him per lap at one point. So, you know, seriously bad for Ricardo. We don't know what
Or
he
else
did.
Lando is at his sublimest form now, and he's really good, and he's on top of his game. And if you see Ricardo's past teammates, like his past teammates were Esteban Ocon, he had just come into Renault,
Correct.
and before
He
that,
wiped the floor with Esteban Ocon, no?
he seriously, like, literally wiped the floor with Esteban. And before that, he was with Max. Max also did pretty well. It was not that bad. He had a good car. So I think Danny will take some time to get adjusted into the team, because this weekend he was also at the factory. So I am assuming that he's working hard. I don't know if he's there for a brand work or not, but I hope it was not a brand work. But yes, he's working on
I think,
the car.
I think this weekend actually, he mentioned it later on. You know, initially he was saying that like I can't be this slow. He actually mentioned that in an interview, like it's not my fault, in short. But you know, he later mentioned that it's, you know, this is a race that he needs to understand where, yeah, it is, you know, it is his fault, and maybe he's the one who is actually, you know, the problem in this whole situation. I don't think the two cars would have such a huge difference in even setup that would create a second of difference each lap. You know, that's ridiculous. Lando on the podium, he out of the points, not a good scene.
Because the the McLaren CEO, team is versatile. He kind of made a statement that it is not the car, it is the driver. I mean, he did not mention Daniel's name, but he said it is not the car's fault, because what again Daniel mentioned, that it's a peculiar car to drive. It's
Correct.
it's not something that's driven before. So he'll
Correct.
take time to get
Or
used
you
to
can
this.
ask, I'm sure Jamie will be like, it is never the driver's fault. It is either the engineer's fault or it's the other driver's fault. It's never the driver's fault.
No, it's almost like I'd say 60%, 70%, it's the driver's fault. So
क्या तेरे ड्राइवर लोग तेरे को ऐसा तेरे से बैठने नहीं देंगे नेक्स्ट टाइम कि तू उधर जाके चाय पी। हाँ, अपनी बिरादरी वालों को ऐसा, मतलब तू क्या कर रहा है यार जेमी?
डैनियल कॉल ही करेगा इसके बाद, बोलेगा हे मैन, चल क्या रहा है?
डैनियल का फोन आएगा तेरे को, हे जेमी, व्हाट द हेल मैन?
in Monaco, it's 100% driver's fault. Anything. I mean, look at Lewis and look at Gasly. I mean, Lewis did have a very bad strategy. I don't know what his team ended up with, but you know, it all comes down to look at Perez, dude. I mean, Perez had a car that was very different from Hamilton's. He's not settled into the car yet. And although it was a good strategy for Perez and a bad strategy for Lewis, Perez had to really do some work to get 3 positions in that overcut. That's ridiculous, you know. 3 positions you gain in one pit stop move. That's insane. That's some driving by Perez right there.
And Hamilton wasn't even aware till amount of time that Bottas out of the, he's like, where is Bottas? So casually पूछ रहा हूँ, Bottas दिख नहीं रहा है यार, कहाँ पर है? पीछे तो नहीं चला गया? अरे है ही नहीं रेस में. Hamilton भाई रेस में नहीं है.
They realize that if he was not told, what are the chances that Hamilton would just not realize that Bottas is not in the race?
Nothing.
I mean, Hamilton is pretty observant. We've seen this, and we will talk about this next. He's pretty observant. So, what are the chances that he would just not realize that Bottas is not in the race?
You wouldn't, right?
Because this is not like a go-karting track where you can see the whole track probably from every spot on the track.
But in any real race, even if it's go-karting or Formula One, you don't ever notice if someone's gone out unless you see them out on track, or unless they were behind you within your pit range. You wouldn't really notice them, so you wouldn't bother and unless you ask your team over the radio. Of course, you can do that in Formula One. So team feeds you data, which is, so they must have found it important to maybe tell him that Bottas is out of the race, for instance. So that's how you know.
But I was happy that Ring-a-Ding-a-Ding is back. Like,
Yeah,
I
dude.
was so happy that
What
he's
is
back.
that?
Sebastian Vettel P5. That's brilliant.
Yeah, so he has this thing na कि जब भी वो उसका race अच्छा आता तो he says ring-a-ding-a-ding.
He thinks basically.
Right.
Yeah, correct.
So it was so good to see him in his mojo, and I hope he carries this form, because I think the only silver lining that Aston Martin has this season is that Vettel has to get his mojo back, and he has to get in some points for them.
Definitely. Good, really good race for them. Points, double points, both cars in the points, and they made up 4 times the points they did in the last 4 races. So brilliant race for them, and they straight P5 in championship for Aston Martin. So good driving by them.
Since we're here, now we can discuss what overcut and undercut is. And if I have understood this correctly, overcut is just so that you stay out a little longer on the same set of older tires
Yes.
than your opponent, and you pit a few laps after they would.
Correct.
Like
So
in a race of say 100 laps, if everyone is going to pit around the 30th or the 31st lap, you maybe stay until 33, 34. So that's called an overcut. Or
yes,
you pit at lap 28 or 29 and then you undercut them. Is that
correct.
correct? Or is
So
there
yeah,
more to it?
absolutely. That's pretty much, you summed it up completely. So let's say Hamilton's leading the race and Verstappen is second. Now Verstappen is second, and he in short will wait for Hamilton to he'll wait for Hamilton to pit, and he will then stay out. So Hamilton comes into the pit, Verstappen decides to stay out, and now he absolutely guns it. So he goes let's say for 2 laps longer and makes up a amount of time, or not even 2 laps, just 1 lap, and he pits. Now by the time he pits and he comes out, if he's ahead of Lewis, it means that he's overcut Lewis. But let's say that if we look, so this time in this race we saw Perez from P7 jump straight up to P4, and what he did over there was he waited for Lewis ahead to make a pit stop. He waited for the others to make a pit stop, and then of course he moved up a position, or 3 actually in this case, and he stayed out for just a little longer and eventually came out ahead of them. So before the pits he was behind them. After the pits of all of them got over, he was ahead of them. That's what an overcut is called. An undercut is exactly the opposite. So let's say Lewis is first and Max is second, and Lewis has decided to let's say Lewis has decided to pit early. He's made a pit stop, and then Max tries to go and overcut Lewis, but fails. Lewis ends up ahead of him. So basically, Lewis has undercut Max. It just works either way, right?
Yeah.
But
Basically,
Perez
it's like a time thing. How much time you can make up in while the other one is pitting, how much time you can make up between the two of you. Essentially, that's what it comes down.
A pit stop has it's a pit stop is either
What,
2.5
20 seconds?
The pit itself, you have to go at a certain speed limit, right? Like 80 kilometers per hour or 100. So that is standard for everybody, but still there's a lot of time that you can make up there. So you'll see sometimes the cars absolutely like go all out till the line, till a particular part, and then slam on the brakes and they lock up as they go in, because they're trying to have the most speed they can for the portion before the pit starts, so they lose less time. And even when they get on the throttle once the pit is over, how fast you're able to do that also makes a huge difference. And then of course, if in the pit your pit stop is not 2.5 seconds and it's 4 seconds, that right there is, you've maybe lost a position, because the pits are
These guys are fighting for literally thousandths of a second.
Yep.
So everywhere they cut, if on each corner they can cut even a thousandth of a second, that just improves their lap time so much and all. And it's so I completely understand what a 2.5 second or 4 second pit stop can do, man. It's ridiculous.
Yeah,
And to
Gasly and
think
Vettel,
that
so cool.
earlier, when like I remember watching when like 2000s, early 2000s, that pit stops used to be 9 seconds, 10 seconds. I mean, they used to refuel the car also at that time, but
Correct.
still, even tire changes used to take a while, right? इतना जल्दी नहीं होता था.
They
नहीं,
they
पहले
used
पहले इतना नहीं होता था.
they used to take a little bit longer, but it was mostly just the fuel that was increasing the time so much. Yeah.
Yeah,
Even
but even tires not done in like 2.5, 3 seconds back then.
actually tires back then, even in 2012, no, yeah, maybe 2012, 13, Williams held a record for the fastest pit stop, which was a sub 2 second pit stop. So even maybe a
I thought
decade
Cole
ago.
has a 1.8 second
That
pit
was
stop record.
recently 2019 they set it, but maybe 2012. I think just before the hybrid era or just after the hybrid era, around 2013, 14, Williams had the record for a sub 2 second pit stop. They have one of the fastest pit stops, at least they did earlier, and it was about less than 2 seconds then too.
I think this race also they did a fast pit stop on Latifi. I think some 2.8 seconds or something.
Okay, nice.
So I was wondering, like, to cover up 3 or 4 positions, Perez must the amount of work that a driver has to do in that amount of time others are pitting. He must have had to speed up the car in a certain way so that he has enough time. So
He
that
was
when
leading
he
the race,
pits,
no? When everyone else was in the pits, he had gone to P1.
Yes, he was
was
leading for a while. Correct. In
so,
fact, the thing. Sorry. Continue.
hey, you're telling something.
The thing basically with Perez is he's known for tire management. Like we three of us know this, and Perez is just brilliant with his tires. And for the viewers who might not know, you have to make a mandatory pit stop in Formula One, and tire degradation is massive. They don't even last the whole length of the race. So because of that, it's very important that although you're going really quick around the track, you have to maintain that speed. And the driver by the name of Sergio Perez in Red Bull Racing is brilliant at that. He's shown it again and again. And look what he's done. He's made up 3 positions just because of tire management.
There you go. On that note, guys, please hit the like button and subscribe to this channel
Yes,
for more
guys.
content like this. We're going to be doing this every Sunday. We're going to be back next Sunday for the race as well. Next Sunday is the race, correct? Yes, it is.
Yes, yeah.
Baku.
So, yeah. So this is going to keep happening, and we've also got cricket coming up in the middle of the week. Sorry, last Wednesday we had a little bit of some last-minute emergency, so we could not do the cricket stream. But we will be back this week, most likely with Amit. Yeah, we're going to talk about lots of cricket also coming up. So hit subscribe button if you like that content as well. Yes, coming back. We spoke about Hamilton, Bottas. We spoke about the
McLaren.
Yeah, we've spoken generally about the people who are doing good. Let's go to the back of the table now, and let's look at Mick and Nick. Okay.
Correct.
Mick Schumacher on the first lap, attempted an overtake at the hairpin over his teammate. I don't know if you guys saw that.
Yeah.
Or if you missed it. And I have a point to make about this broadcasting shit also that has been going on with F1. But he fucking tried to overtake at the hairpin in lap 1. What is that belief?
Seriously, if you actually look at the replay from Mazepin's point of view, the guy has literally seen him and he's just shoved into Mick and
Almost illegal that move.
It was not illegal from Mick's point of view. It would have been a penalty from Mazepin's point of view.
Should have been a penalty.
Definitely. He's looking on the right because Mick was on the right, and the mirrors are literally this thin, 2 small strips. So he looks here, he doesn't see Mick. He looks here, he sees Mick, and he just, he cuts his steering wheel in an angle, and Mick's like, what are you doing? And just makes it through. And unfortunately, Mick had to give him the position back later in the race because he had an engine issue. Pretty sad, but that's how it is.
But good on Mick that he's kind of getting into his form, and he's attempting these overtakes. Like even in the last race, we saw him defend against Williams for 1 to 2 laps. He overtook Latifi's car. I think he's raced Latifi before in Monaco, because when Latifi was
yes, you're right.
When Mick was a rookie, and
2019. You're right.
2019, they have raced each other in Monaco, so they know each other's driving style a little. And one person I want to talk about is Antonio Giovinazzi. He's had a great race. I mean, that's like a big leap for Alfa Romeo, if I'm not wrong.
Very true.
I think this is their first Q3 appearance this season, and
first point
and I feel Antonio Giovinazzi is a little underrated, and he got his due, because there were talks about him not being this season, and Alfa Romeo retaining him. They have seen something in him, because somewhere down the line he's going to assume their key driver position within the team also, because he's been out qualifying Kimi like really well. Like this year at least, he's out qualified Kimi a couple of times.
Correct.
So what are your views on Alfa Romeo?
I would say I didn't believe he would be here this season. I thought that Mick would probably replace him in the Alfa Romeo. And frankly speaking, I think he's not shown us enough. As a Formula One driver, you're occupying one of 20 seats in the world. How many people are out there who are like, would absolutely hammer you, or hammer anything to actually be in that spot. He's not really given us enough. I've not seen him do much for as long as I've watched Formula One. He's made like some extremely silly errors and just driving errors. Really, I can't recall the last time where he was in a great position and the car gave up. I can remember the last time where he was in a good position and he made some error. So just happy really to see him in the first points for Alfa Romeo this whole season. So that's good for them, and he is, I think, he needs to be more dominant. He is out qualifying Kimi. He is beating Kimi in a few races. But, Kimi is just there to do time pass, literally. Like, he's just doing hobby.
He's just there for their 2022 program.
So you have to beat Kimi, you definitely need to stay ahead of him to be there, And I don't see that much from him. But of course, good for them.
Considering the fact that like an Italian driver after a while in Formula One, he's got a lot riding on his shoulders also. And
very true.
Because we saw last season, he has had good starts.
Brilliant starts.
Brilliant starts where he's had a few positions taken up, and but he's not been able to continue those, and he's not been able to build on that. So that has been a major issue with Antonio, I feel, because Alfa Romeo retaining him for 2021 was a pretty big move. No one saw that coming.
Yeah, I would say so too.
So that was I think it still is a big gamble for Alfa Romeo also to continue with him. So because we really don't know, because somewhere down the line I really feel थोड़ा IPL वाला हिसाब होता है Formula 1 में कि चलो ठीक है, इसको कम बजट पर रख देते हैं, ये ड्राइवर इसको पैसा वैसा नहीं देंगे हम लोग इतना ज्यादा.
Very big reason why he's there is, you should know, the sport has a lot to do with politics. He's an Italian driver, and that gives you a lot of more it gives you like a step up to other drivers. It's a little sad, but yeah, that's what motorsport is. It's got a lot of politics involved, and his country of origin plays a big role in that.
And one more gossip that I had was, I was talking to Dhaval about it, that Yuki is being called to Italy. His base was England, so Helmut Marko has called him to Italy because of his performance. Now he'll be he was working from home. Now he's being called to office. Now he'll be operating out of Alfa Tauri's factory because everyone's concerned with his performance.
Correct.
So last race, he had good pace, like much better than Hamilton's actually. So.
In fact, there's this podcast that F1 hosts, and on the podcast he practically said that I started off so strong that the expectation I had for myself was well beyond what I could actually achieve. So he's a rookie, and in his rookie race he got points. That's a huge deal, especially when your own teammate finished out of the points for that race and I think the following race. So good, it was a good like image for him, but he's not really kept up with that. When in Imola he spun out, in quali he just didn't set a quali lap, but again he spun out there. It's not been too good for him. Catalonia, he had a problem. Car gave up, and of course before that he even mentioned that it's the car's fault. It's definitely not my fault. That kid said, I'm sorry, I didn't mean this. Definitely needs to think a little more before he actually says something, I guess. He's a little
he's quite muffat, no, वैसे कुछ
Yeah,
भी बोल देता है.
Because
And he
as
fights
a
with his engineers on radio, screaming at them like he's a rookie.
like
Is that okay? Now I've heard that apparently Michael Schumacher used to be like that even in his rookie season, where he was just like, I know more than you guys, you'll do as I say, that kind of attitude. And he went on to achieve whatever he did. Is this just one of those things that some people are like that? Okay, nahi sunega, versus like you contrast that with Mick, who is just so meek and like, oh हाँ ठीक है, आप जैसा बोलोगे मैं वैसा करूँगा.
Because Formula 2 में इतना aggressive नहीं था, because I know for a fact he should drive for Carlin, and Carlin race engineers are pretty savage, because once Jehan Daruwala asked for the lap time, lap position, उसको ऐसा race engineer ने बोला कि just drive fucking fast. तो मेरे को लगता है कि ये Formula 2 में तो नहीं करता था, so बराबर पड़ता था, ठीक है. Formula 1 में आने का पूरा बदल गया है बंदा.
Yeah, he's got to, I think, control his anger. You can't really have, as a race driver, you can't have yourself as one of the hurdles that you need to pass. There's so much on your mind that if you yourself were something that wasn't going right, or you weren't the way you'd want to be during this race, it's going to be extremely hard. You've just got so much to deal with, on a race weekend, that if your own anger is an issue, then that's going to be difficult for you to
Verstappen is also kind of like this, except he doesn't have outbursts as much, and he is very, very good with his own teammates. But I feel like Verstappen just gets overwhelmed all the time with talking and all of the media related stuff around F1. Usko khali gaadi chalana hai. Literally, all Max Verstappen wants to do is drive that car as fast as he can and try to win races. He doesn't want to do anything else. But he's just being made to do that. Do you guys get that feeling that Verstappen is just constantly annoyed and irritated with the world?
Max is he's very, I would say he shouldn't say what he says at times, but he takes advantage of the fact that he's driver number one in Red Bull. They can't let go of him. So he just casually mentioned in an interview, the car's really slow. I've done what I could. The car's just too shit. That's not gonna be so good when you got factories of guys, bunch of guys working on car. Not too motivational, So
and after he won this race, he said that I've really not had the competition this season. I'm like, you've just peaked now. So it's time to just shut the fuck up, be a little humble. I'm like, yeah, just take a seat back.
People kept on saying that Hamilton's best start to the season, it's actually been Hamilton's best start to the season, but also Verstappen's best start to the season, and actually Bottas's worst start to a season since he joined Mercedes. So, yeah.
Even Lando's, I feel.
Lando is definitely best start to the season. 2 podiums already in the last 5 races.
I feel like this is going to be a great season for Lando.
Oh, definitely. For Lando, yeah, for sure.
Yeah, and we're nearing the end of the stream, so we're going to go to chat a little bit. There are some questions coming in from chat. I'll start with Rajat asking, what do you guys think Lando out qualifying Ricardo in every race? We've discussed this already, Lando and Ricardo, but I think Ricardo did better than Lando in Spain. He finished also. He's qualified also and finished also ahead of Lando.
Yeah, he finished 6th and Lando finished 8th. I think.
Yeah. So yeah.
No,
Advait
that
said
won't be the
Helmut said he
case.
was furious at Yuki and not very cool with him. Helmut Marko has come out and said that he's not very happy with Yuki Tsunoda. Is this
Correct.
true? You guys
That
read
is
this?
true.
Yeah,
Because like Helmets literally told Yuki, keep it out of the wall. That's what he said. Just please don't go fast. Keep it out of the wall. And Yuki literally went into the barriers in practice. So
That's,
Oh,
that's
man.
the reason. That's the reason. Marco has personally told him to come to Italy. Like shift हो जाओ बेटा तुम मतलब तुमको ट्यूशन का जरूरत है चाटे कोचिंग क्लासेस लगाना पड़ेगा like he'll be under the
Oh my god, I have not heard that. Is that a double entendre? Like चाटे coaching classes मतलब तुम चाटोगे नहीं तो तुमको टीम में नहीं रहने देंगे type.
ये assumption
speaking about Yuki, what he said the favorite part about the team is it's the food.
It's the food. Wow, what a guy. Either this guy has some next level confidence in his ability or he just doesn't give a shit about what he's saying.
because he's a great driver. Like
Jamie, imagine you have made it to F1. Okay, you are in an F1 team. You are one of those 20 people. You are being asked at an interview in your rookie season. What do you like about this F1 team?
Food's really nice, you know.
Must sushi diya tha last weekend. Like what?
ब्रेकफास्ट एक नंबर रहता है अनलिमिटेड स्मूदी रहता है ठीक है ऑमलेट मस्त बनाता है like अरे नहीं because I saw Aston Martin has a YouTube channel so they were covering their chef this time they showed their chef so I was like यार ये सही है खाना वगैरह तो अच्छा रहता है
It's like some new thing that they're doing now.
Yeah.
But it actually looks so tempting when they show their cafeteria and stuff. Like it looks so good, dude.
Yeah. Okay. Moving on. Utkarsh saying, do you think Perez can win in Baku? Okay. Interesting. We're looking ahead at Baku. What are your
very good question. Perez has been on the podium there, I think, twice before, and he's with a car that has the best aerodynamics on the grid, I'd say. So that's a good. But his teammate is Max Verstappen, so I don't think so.
Okay.
On the podium, very good.
Yeah,
choice.
he can. But winning the race is a different ball game altogether. But podium वाला तो gamble खेल सकते हैं.
Yeah, and this track only reminds me of Bottas, dude. Poor guy, leading in 2018, puncture out of the race.
तो अगले रेस मुझे ऐसा क्यों लग रहा है कि अगले रेस में वो पिट स्टॉप में आएगा तो व्हील गन फेंकेंगे उसके ऊपर बोटास बोलेगा ये क्या है यार he is leading the race okay ठीक है Bottas
tell him to come and change his own tires or something.
अरे there was a meme where Bottas is like getting down उसको ऐसा कोई तो किसने ऐसे क्रिएटिव बनाया था कि वो ऐसा व्हील गन ले रहा है हमने करे यार मतलब
it's possible man I would not be surprised if next race Hamilton is pitting and Bottas just still comes into the pits and इसको ठोक देता है पीछे से अभी have I stopped at the right spot now Toto हाँ
नहीं मेरे को लगता है फिर तो अगले रेस में वो लोग सीधा बोलेगा रसल भाई गाड़ी प्लेन पकड़ो आप
they'll make him stop get out of Williams' car and make him sit in Bottas' spot
they may do that
imagine oh my god this is the best a GTA moment where Toto Wolff makes Bottas stop makes Williams stop makes Bottas get out of the car Russell बैठ तू और तू चला गाड़ी
Valtteri this is James we're giving a lot of meme content
absolutely okay one of the last few questions that we're going to take is from Vineet he is asking is there an unfair advantage at the pit exit in Monaco pit exit I said sorry pit exit in Monaco does the pit exit have some advantage because it goes around the turn one right
it's there in many tracks it's not a disadvantage it's just the way it is for a safety reason you can't have the car exit onto the main straight where drivers are going at that ridiculous speed entering into the braking so you have to put a pit exit in a manner where it doesn't really cause a massive safety issue. That's the only reason. No unfair advantage. Everyone has to deal with the same thing, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Um,
Yeah.
so I just wanted to ask this one last question.
Yeah.
Please.
That looking at what both the drivers at Ferrari are doing, like Carlos Sainz just came into the team and he's pretty comfortable with the car. Charles has already been doing a great job. What do you feel like? What are your predictions for Ferrari for the rest of the season? For a few races at least.
I would say I don't think they'll be doing well anytime soon. Monaco is maybe their one chance to get some massive points in the bag. If someone ruined that for Leclerc, and maybe Leclerc ruined it for himself, And I don't think we'd be seeing such a strong performance by Ferrari anytime soon. Maybe in the tracks that involve lower downforce. Can't think of any right now. Baku is not a place that's been like amazing for Sainz or even great for Leclerc. So I don't know. Matters a lot, as a driver more than the car, because like I would say Verstappen is going to. I feel like Verstappen is going to win this. That's what I feel, and he's going to get a lead into the championship, which is going to be great for the title. So
That
And
happens. Let's see.
that happens.
It's an
Verstappen
old
end
prediction.
up saying that Lewis is really not my competition. Would end up
That
saying
will be
things
the
like
day,
that.
huh?
Yeah.
Okay, so we've come to the end of the stream now, and I would just like to thank you guys for making it. Thank you, Jamie. Thank you, Sid. This was great. I had a really fun time. I hope chat you guys enjoyed it, and if you did, please hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, and we will be back soon with more content. Before we go, let's have some final thoughts on looking back to the season and generally how it's been so far. There's still a lot of it to go, but do you think there's early indications of who's going to be the champion? Jamie, I'll come to you first with this.
18 races, 1 point separates two drivers. Very hard to say, but Mercedes has just got a better car at the end of the day. It's
Do you
you
still
know
think that's true?
Yeah. Mercedes it's just got a better overall package. I'm starting to think, after Monaco, with the amount Lewis was really crying on the radio, to be very frank with you, I'm starting to feel like it's more of the car rather than Lewis itself, we need to look at the fact that when he joined Formula One, he was in a top team. When he switched to Mercedes, when everyone thought Mercedes would be crap, good job that he made the right call. But again, he had the best equipment on the grid. So, it's not been the same for other drivers. And I just think that they have a better package. And the next race is the last race that Red Bull has to use their bendy sort of wings. The whole drama that's going on of their wings.
Maybe,
Basically,
maybe not.
And that's pretty unfair from FIA because they ruled DAS as illegal last season, but they allowed them to use
use it
DAS
throughout the
throughout
season.
the season, and
Yeah.
they are
Correct.
being I think
Is the ruling
the web-
already been passed on this? Do
Yeah.
they have to change it after Baku?
They have to change it
Yeah.
before the French Grand Prix, and the French Grand Prix is after Baku, if I'm not mistaken.
So Red Bull is going to have an appeal against Mercedes in this case. So Red Bull is again planning to have an appeal because it's a very short time frame.
Absolutely.
And this is very unfair from FIA. I don't understand why they're not allowing them to use this. Let them use it the whole season.
वो रेडियो चैटर याद है ना तेरे को?
अरे टोटो
It
तो
is,
टोटो को देख के डरते होंगे वो लोग. टोटो से टच टपले अपनी मारता रहेगा माइक ऐसे को ऐसे जाके.
Speaking about these wings, I would say it's actually the FIA's fault for not making the rules clear, because these, the guys developing the cars are incredibly smart. You give them wiggle room and they're going to wiggle. That's literally what Hamilton said. So basically about this wing, the wing moves back more than it's allowed to, but not during the tests. So the FIA conducts tests on these cars by even putting certain amounts of load on the wings, the front wing, rear wing. And if they pass the test, then that's cool. But when the car is actually running and is in motion, it reacts very differently. So the only test they have to do then is just the weight, which they do when they go on the scales. That is what Hamilton actually noticed and pointed out, saying that their wing looks like it's more flexible than it should be, which is what's giving them this massive advantage. Now, the biggest problem is that there is another team called Alfa Romeo on the grid who have the same thing. Now, the problem for them is that they do not have uh, as much equipment as Red Bull does. So even for them to change their car by that time limit is going to be a huge problem for them. And again, this season we have a budget cap, so you can't just be splurging money everywhere. It's the FI's fault if anything. Again, in Bahrain, they didn't make it clear with the the track limits and all. This shouldn't be it. 2021 Formula One, it's so advanced. You can't be making such mistakes.
Fair enough.
Okay, fine.
Thank you, Sid. On that note, we're going to end the stream. Thank you so much, guys. We will be back next week, as I've already told you, with more F1 content, and you will find out more about everything on Instagram. Speaking of which, everyone's Instagram handles are there in the description. So go there and follow them, guys. Jamie is at Jamie Shaw Racing, and Sid is it at Siddhi Shetty. Sorry, at Siddhi Shetty. That's a tongue twister. So yeah, go hit them up on Instagram and all of that. Thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you, guys.
Thank you
Thank
so
you,
much,
guys.
guys. Thank you,
See you
guys.
all. Bye bye.
Bye bye. That is the end. I think yes, it is. We're done, guys.